Okay. So now, before we go ahead with the show, we need to take an oath. We need to
Okay.
swear in our honesty to the show and yeah, maintain the sanctity.
मैं गीता पे हाथ रख के कसम खाता हूँ कि मैं सच कहूंगा और सच के सिवा और कुछ नहीं कहूंगा. I have seen this in too many Bollywood films and always wanted to do it.
Lovely. So moving
I always
on.
wondered who Gita is. Yeah.
You wanted Geeta, is it? Your connection, your connection, your connection. I'm waiting for connection. Hi!
Hi!
Hi.
Hello! How are you doing?
That's definitely not how I would have introduced myself. What?
Exactly how I'd hoped you'd say.
Okay, my next question for you is, now what gali do you give people?
Want me to first now?
Okay, I asked for pacha honesty.
Pacha honesty.
Pacha honesty is pacha honesty. Welcome to Pacha Honesty with Maxi. Today I have someone who's super fun. He is very different from the other guests I've had. He's an entrepreneur. Technically, he's one of those guys who like doing what they do and make money out of it. Isn't that like amazing? Like that I think is a rare combination. At least I wish it was something that I had in me, but yeah. So let me introduce you to Sunil Vishnu. Hi, Sunil.
Hi.
So technically, I was supposed to do a better introduction and talk about Avam and how you guys had started it in 2003. And yeah, I was supposed to give an entire introduction about it. Clearly, I have missed out on that opportunity. So if you are in Chennai, and most likely that you have been to an Avam play. If you think you've watched theater, then you've been to an Avam play. This is one of those rare companies who not just perform arts on stage, they also package it for people from different sections of life to access art. They run corporate training programs. They have acting workshop for absolute beginners. So these guys are super cool. Their workshops are super cool. If you've been to their workshops, you know what I'm talking about.
You do know that I'm not going to stop you if you continue saying nice things about me, right? I'm just going to wait and say maybe the whole show is about this. Let's just continue this. It's
But
working
it's
well.
quite rare, Ilab. People praising us in front of our face doesn't really happen as much.
Yeah, it's very strange. Yes.
Especially
Because half the time you're thinking that is she factually right about what she's saying? Oh, that's what she thinks about me. Maybe let me just let it go. There's no clarification.
Okay, I have like one entire list of questions custom made for you, and I'm like
Oh my God.
raring to shoot it at you. You started Avam when you were 25. I know what state of mind I was in when I was 25. I know the human being I was. How did you guys manage it? What inspired you? What made it work? Like,
Okay.
I don't know how to run my life. You dare to run a company. How does it work?
I don't know about that. I think, see, it's about stage of life, right? When I was 25, 26, technically I was graduating from MICA, which is Mudra Institute of Communications. Me and Karthik were. So, of course, one big incident was the fact that me and KK met and we were in the same batch. So that itself was, I think, almost like, a coincidence of sorts happening. And then we met and then we acknowledged each other and said, hey, you like theater, I like theater. So maybe we can do theater together in college. And that's how literally we met. So I don't think that was significant because had I not met him, possibly I may not have started. So we met, we started doing theater together. And I think by doing theater for 2 years in college, we got greedy. We were like, wait a second, this is something which we love doing. Now, what if we could do this for the rest of our lives, right? As opposed to doing, joining a brand and an agency and doing advertising. That's what my course taught us. So we got greedy about it. And we said, okay, maybe at least we should give it a try, and see how that works. And our principle was that if we are learning how to build a brand and other brands and how to market them, then you might as well use that knowledge to build your own brand. I mean, if you can't do it with yourself, right? So I think backed by us meeting, we loving theatre and doing it, and the third thing saying, wait a second, maybe we could make this work, yeah, because we're learning this. And of course, that led us to doing small research, which is still there in the MICA library if you go there, which is called, we used to do this annual thesis of sorts. So we did a thesis on how to create, will a theatre company working in the real world out there be, economically sustainable? And we got the answer from everybody. We went around, asking 50, 60 people, everybody from Mani sir to Nasiruddin Shah to multiple other people. And we got the answer clearly that no, you can't. So it came back and said, dude, our 50-page research shows that everybody says, why don't you take up a proper job and do this also? You don't have to make it a company because nobody has run a company which, kind of is economically sustainable. And then we said, wait a second, we have nothing to lose, right? If we try it out and, why not? So I think that why not led us to kind of try it out. And I think since two of us were together, not a single person, and that moment where we said, big deal, what will happen? Worst case scenario, we'll figure out, yeah? So agreed on one side, the steam on one side, and also the fear. I do remember doing a summer internship in Bombay, and we worked in agencies. KK was also doing that, and we came back saying, oh my God, this is like really scary, this whole world of advertising and all. Great fascination, fantastic. But maybe I don't want to do this, the whole of my life. So the fear of not doing that and fear of wanting to do this, greed and this, I think that's what led us. Yeah.
Having an idea is fine, but when it rolls out into execution, there are a lot of challenges, from money to infrastructure to spreading the word, to letting people know that you even exist. So that entire curve, how did that work for you guys?
I think when we started off itself, we were fairly marketing savvy. I mean, that's what our course taught us. That's what we learned. I mean, I remember if there was one takeout from the whole of 2 years of MICA, it was about consumer is king. Think for the consumer, think from the consumer's perspective, which if you realize no artist does. Right? So we were learning that, we were in tune with that, and we came out and said, we knew we loved our art. We said we want to do more stories, more theatre, more all of that. And on the other hand, this half brain of ours was saying consumer, consumer, consumer. So I think we came out with that attitude of just adding that up. And obviously we had heard enough stories about people having jhola and kurta and jibba and moving around. And that's what theatre guy would look like with a cigarette in hand at the tea kadai, right? So we knew this imagery. And we were clear that we didn't want to be that. So to make it sustainable was a significant, important thing that we had to do along with doing what we love doing. So that made us constantly think about the consumer, the audience, and how do you do it, and how do you do it, and how. Like, you will not believe it. When we first came, I remember I'm not from Chennai. I came to Chennai, and one of the first things I realized was saying, wait a second. So plays used to happen here, like 3 shows. They'll happen Saturday, Sunday, and after the Sunday show got over, people would post reviews because the Hindu review would come the next week, and then people said, "Oh my God, so sad, I missed it. When are you doing it next?" No, we are done. I mean, what do you mean? We spent 3 months and we did 3 shows. We're done. We're not doing anymore. So neither were shows being done a lot, frequency. And imagine the review coming later. What do I do with it? So even something as basic as a preview to tell people that there is a show never used to happen. Can you believe that? You'll think right now that, hey, that's ridiculous right now, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's like a norm right now. Have a preview, let people know of the show.
Yeah, a preview, an ad, a Facebook something, all of that, right? So even that wasn't there, which is like, wait a second, we're coming from a marketing school. What is happening here? So it immediately made us think that there is immediately a gap, which if you fill, that itself will lead you to more audiences. So that's something, to be honest, we are quite wired into. Both me and Karthik, and in fact our team also, we are all very wired into constantly thinking audience, constantly thinking consumer. It's just part of us.
Speaking of sustainability, the world that you work in, the industry that you work in, it has a very strange relationship with financial sustainability. There's a very thin line between selling out your soul at the same time being financially sustainable. So, and this is a very subjective line. There is no objective understanding to it. Every artist is going to be, so it's kind of a financially snobbish world. I belong to it too, so I know
I
what
love
we're
it how
talking about.
we're speaking in third person.
Yes, I'm trying to be objective here, so I'm not offending anybody.
Yeah, you never know who's watching this interview.
Exactly.
In fact, I'll be happy if there are some trolls. You know, I mean, that's the
Yeah.
new word, right?
That's the
You
new
better have
marketing.
trolls that are famous.
So how do you guys handle your image? How do you respond to this entire thing, and how does that affect your position in this particular industry or world?
Okay, yeah. So multiple things. One, you speak of it as industry, right? And I have concerns with that
Yeah,
because
actually, it is not an
know,
industry.
it's not an industry, which is funny at one level, but it's sad at another level because
I agree.
theater has existed for ages, and we all know it will always exist. There will always be some amount of people watching, creating all of that. And it's not an industry primarily because industry should make money, and there are enough people doing it, and there is a it's just not just making money for themselves, but for the ecosystem, right?
Yes.
Like today, if you talk about, say, a Broadway is not just a great show. No, it supports the hotels around it. It supports people. It's an economic engine running
Exactly.
beyond it being great at what they do. So in that sense, I think, we are not an industry. We keep trying to be one, which is fantastic. I think we can keep trying that.
Some of
And
them are
therefore,
trying to
within
be
that,
one. Let me clarify.
yeah,
Some of them are trying to be one. One of them being my guest here.
yes, we always try. And within that, I think over the period of time, I would say maybe in the first 5-6 years, we faced a lot more, response around the fact that maybe you have sold your soul. I remember so many people introducing us as saying, these are the guys who have made money out of theater, and the way they would say it, you would know what they mean by it, right?
Cringe. Like, I didn't
Yeah,
know that was a bad
yeah.
thing.
So some people cringing, some people being happy about it, all of that. But I think again, we went to the basics. Again, as I said, we are doing a play, we are doing a performance. Who are we doing it for? We're doing it for an audience. Are there enough of that people out there? Yes. But do they know that we're doing a play? No.
No.
So let's just tell them, right? So it was as simple as saying there are enough people who can come, and when they come, there is a value proposition. They are watching something, they should be paying it, right? Unlike today, where in the last 2 months everybody's providing everything free, and I have an issue with that. But no, it sets bad precedent,
It does. I get what
So,
you mean.
so therefore, I think for us, it was not like when people think commercial. Like if you think Marathi theater, you'll clearly see, there'll be some people who say, no, we do the pure Marathi theater. Otherwise, there is commercial Marathi theater. Technically, Broadway is the commercial version of the off-Broadway version, whatever you call it, right? So the idea is, for us, I think it was money. Of course, we said we have to be sustainable because then only you can do the next one, right?
Precisely.
And then you should, like my classmates passed out and they do work for so many different brands and they earn money. So I think I should be also earning money. I'm also doing good work. So why not, right? So that was quite simple for us, that it has to be for us and for the team which works with us and all. And therefore that sets a very nice thing in your head saying, oh, so you are doing it because you love doing it and it has to be sustainable. Both go hand in hand. Therefore you can sleep well at night. And the days where we cringed were possibly days saying, oh my God, is that too much of a compromise? That day I would have not slept well. Or, oh my God, this artistic work that I'm putting out, I'm not very happy with it. Then I would have not slept well, right? So both hand in hand. And whenever people, I think, complained or said that you're not a purist, and honestly, we are not purists. I mean, I knew from day one, it's not just about the money part. We were not trained in theater. We learned it by working with other people. We started when we started AVM, we started doing a lot of British American plays, mostly comedies. We in fact literally positioned ourselves because, again, in the branding world and out there saying that we are stress busters. Our first T-shirt of AVM was saying stress busters, right? So I knew that we used to say in our interviews that we are the lollipop. You see the lollipop, you come in, and then guess what? I have a gourmet. I mean, like I have French, Italian, Indian, all kinds of food. but I'm the lollipop to the fair of theatre, right? So I think we were very knowledgeable, and we said, hey, this is who we are, and we were very happy
Very
with that.
clear about it.
So I think at every stage, knowing what you're doing and why you're doing, and finding reason and value in it is the crucial thing. So I think we had enough people, to be honest, we had enough people who said maybe negative things, but also lots of people who loved the fact that, I remember so many mommies and uncles and aunties calling us after our first 2-3 months saying, oh my God, you guys have left your MBA, you're doing this for your living, that's so nice, I'll support you. A lot of people later on joining us saying, I wish I could have done that. So I think this inherent desire to do what you love doing is there with all of us, right? Some people are lucky enough to know what it is. Some more lucky people are, I know what it is and I can do it. So we got a lot of love and appreciation from many people in our journey throughout, who gave us things without expecting anything. And I can only relate it to the fact that they related to what we were doing. So I would say if I had to really weight what we've got, and gratitude is so much more than what negativity we got. So easily, not a problem.
So my long questions for you are over. My rapid fire starts. Now, I would like to think of it as rapid fire, but it's completely in your hands.
Do I get a hamper? I've always wanted to win the Karan Johar hamper.
I am not Karan Johar and I'm a theatre person. Now that we've spoken about sustainability, do you think in the COVID situations I can afford a hamper?
Yeah, hamper.
All right, we shall discuss this and figure this out. I will make sure. I will figure how I can compromise for the lack of hamper right now. So
a hamper doesn't require sustainability.
Hamper doesn't require sustainability.
I can guarantee you that.
Alrighty. What is the one thing that you wish you had?
One thing I wish I had? I think I'm quite happy with that.
It could be anything. Thing, quality.
Oh, quality. Yeah. I wish I was more organized in terms of managing my time. It's the one feedback I get from everybody who works with me. They sometimes say lovingly, they sometimes say grudgingly. It's a reality.
Constant feedback.
And the other thing is more of a wish list thing, but actually it's in my hand. I don't know much about it, about both these things. Is knowing enough Tamil. I don't still know enough about Tamil. So every time people say 16 years, Tamil theriyada. And I'm like, the second is, how did you manage? I'm like, actually you can.
You have made a lot of Tamilians happy right now. Like,
yes,
can you hear their pride? Can you hear them purring in their pride?
No, I think I will end up surely making a conscious and structured effort to learn. Otherwise, I'll keep saying Paklama and Parvaille.
And people are happy.
This is where the Tamilians will hate me, because I will say, this is Udit Narayan singing, Naranna Parvaille, Taranatnan Parvaille, Parvaille.
Oh my God.
That's where the meter has just gone down in this interview.
No, this is amazing. I didn't know you sing. This is so cool. I didn't know you could keep up a tune. This is like a new discovery. Facing which of these do you have a hard time maintaining a straight face? A, hypocrisy. B, pompousness. C, ignorance or stupidity. Or is there a secret D?
Pompousness, easily.
Okay.
My head will be grinning like this.
Oh, but you can keep a straight face.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know many people.
Wow. That's like a superhero skill. What is your honest response to the flood of online activities?
One day, I've posted actually something about this a while back, where I said that there's a lot of when somebody told you that you have hidden talent.
Oh,
They meant
yes. I saw that too.
So maybe you should keep it hidden. Yeah. And but no, on a serious note, I think I mean, you could debate on the fact that hey, it's my freedom of expression. I can do anything, kind of a thing. But I think if it is out there, I think especially in the arts, considering everybody's like making ends meet and really fighting to figure this out, it does spoil the market when you have either low quality content out there or it is free. So it's an issue because something as simple as if I have a fruit shop and I'm selling the apple at 100 rupees, and you start distributing it free out there. So there are many people who will pick that up and then they'll eat it and they'll say, "Oh, bad apple!
Exactly.
All the apples are bad."
Exactly.
You didn't even taste my apple.
Fair
So
enough. True.
I think that's a concern, but again, it's democracy. You really can't help it. I think right now, since people have time, to be honest, what they had in hand was time. They said, "Oh, my friend used to tell me that I sing well. Maybe I sing well." I'm like, okay with it. And then, therefore, they will go and record a video and say, "Sing well." One video, then two videos, then three videos. I'm saying that's also fine as long as you keep seeing if your likes are decreasing. Like I was doing a blog sometime back, and I had some people actually called me and said, "Sunil, we love you, but I think the blog is just too long. We don't read anything beyond 3 lines." I was like, I get the point. So hopefully people are telling you what they really think about your stuff, so you can do some self-review. You don't need other people to review. If they're not liking it beyond the point, you know that they are not liking it. It's not that the Facebook algorithm did not reach them.
Looks like I have to revalue my show right now, but moving on.
Yeah. So I'm like,
My next question to you is, what is the one thing you can never be honest about?
it's like flashes going in my head. Not all. There's so many. Like, I think when I have to say no to somebody, that is sometime where I find it rarely would I see the real reason. I will just find an excuse or a faff because in my head I'm constantly thinking the other person should not feel bad or judge me or any of those things. There's a good chance I would be either not saying no and therefore lying in another way, or saying no and giving another reason. There's a good chance.
I think this question just put the doubt in the heads of many. So,
Yeah, I'm like, because if you ask me, where do you lie? I would have said, yes, of course I lie. I've lied many times. I lie every day. That's normal.
yeah, you're in marketing. There's no other way. There's no way out.
I wouldn't. Sorry. I am not agreeing to that part of it. Marketing is surely not about lying, or rather, everything is not about lying. In fact, I think it's about a honest value conversation.
It's just exaggerated honesty.
But, like, for example, I lie a lot to my mom. Where are you? I'm just near the house. When are you coming? Next 10 minutes.
Perfect.
So I know that, yes, I think she's the person I would have lied to the most. And that's not even the no wala lie. Right?
Just like.
Take it.
My next question. What can, without fail, make you smile?
Somebody else smiling in front of you.
That's a beautiful one.
If you smile, I will smile. And I'm not being philosophical about it. I think that's true.
Yeah, I completely get what you're saying. In fact, when I wrote this question, I was thinking of an answer, and it's something along the lines of what you just said.
Which was?
When the other person is genuinely smiling, how can you not smile? So yeah,
It's so easy, right? Yeah, because
Yeah.
you're only responding to it.
it's so infectious. Yeah. So all my questions for you are over. Now the floor is open to you. You can ask me one question.
Yes. So I had thought that I will go through the conversation and then figure out based on the conversation what can I ask. When you think of yourself as an artist,
Mm-hmm.
What is the vision which comes in your head? What does it feel like? What's the feeling? What does it when you think of yourself? So imagine you're sitting alone and you're thinking, hey, I'm an artist. What does it mean to you? What does it mean?
Someone who has the responsibility of taking a story to someone.
Someone who has the responsibility to the story.
Like as an artist, especially when we're in the performance space, what we feel, what we think, I mean, I'm slightly spiritual and philosophical, so I believe that it affects the person who's sitting there. So that is what is the most beautiful part about live performance for me. And I think most of my work, in fact, I think doing that kind of work where when I especially am part of a story that I think can mean something to someone who's watching it, or when I'm performing something that I think can mean something to the person who's watching it, I'm especially kicked by it.
Especially?
So I'm very kicked by it. Like, I love the feeling of it. The last segment of my show is that I'm going to request you to share something or to share something that you would like for people to do and for me to do the next week or this week. Do you have anything in mind?
Everybody to do one thing? Every
You
day.
can suggest people like one thing, please. I can't do more than one thing a week. Lockdown is not easy on my life.
Okay, I'll tell you. Something which I did during the lockdown and I thought it was very interesting for me was, and this is something which I did for a week and I really liked it. It was about every day I woke up and I thought about one person I want to thank in my life for either having being part of my journey in some way, and I'm thankful for that person. And then I would consciously write them a note, and in today's world, either take a picture and send that note, or I will voice record and send them that. But I'll just let them know that. So I did it for 7 people on 7 days.
Oh, wow. This is such a beautiful thing to do. I'm going to for sure do this. This is so beautiful.
You should. It's very nice.
It's a fabulous idea. I'm like so excited. Okay, so cool. Sunil, thank you very, very much for being with us and being so generous with all that you shared. So yeah, wait, how am I supposed to end this show? Just one lost track. So thank you guys for watching.